Hi, I'm Meagan Johnson, and I am so excited to be back with my most recent young entrepreneur. I want to say I have been looking forward to this interview all month. I am with Vanessa, and she gave me really good directions on how to say her last name, Famighetti. She said it's like spaghetti, but with an F. So that was perfect. And I empathize because people say my name, Meagan, incorrectly all the time. But Vanessa is part of the brain power behind the most interesting business concept I have heard about. It's called Beyond the Nest. And I've been reading up all about it. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to throw it back to Vanessa. Vanessa, so exciting. It is so exciting to talk to you. Tell me a little bit about Beyond the Nest. Or you start. Tell me about your entrepreneur journey. How'd you get there? I want to hear everything.
Yeah, 100%. So to get everyone ready, Beyond the Nest is a travel company. So we're an innovative post-COVID travel company that is built for the new world, so meaning post-COVID travel. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we offer two types of travel predominantly, and that is retreats, and we have voyages where we move across a region, say across Kenya from the coast to the heartland, or through Portugal from the north to the south. And what we do during these small group journeys, in addition to just exploring and having a ton of hands-on cultural experiences and whatnot, is that we also have an overarching theme that we're kind of all moving throughout the trip, which is really cool. So what we do is we have themes for our trip. The most upcoming is Flying the Coop, and that's all about recalibrating your life and your space and your boundaries and your goals and passions post-COVID. Mm-hmm. So I think that all of us can say we felt a little cooped up in the past year and a half.
Yes.
And this one is all about us taking a full-on step away from everything. We can finally travel. Our company makes it, very smooth, very simple, very pleasant for the whole travel experience, especially if it's your first time post-COVID. Mm-hmm. And then once we're there as a small group, we work through not only some of those questions about what do we have at home that works for us, what doesn't work for us, who do we want to be, how can we make it happen, but you're going through that with like-minded people. And in the meantime, you're also doing cool things like wine tasting and going to hot springs that are the most renowned in Mexico. We're staying right next to the Sistine Chapel of Mexico. It's one of the oldest frescoes still standing. Oh, wow. In that area. So we pick really fantastic places, either a villa or an estate, or we have small boutique hotels that we'll move between. But what we really aim to do is set up a 5-star experience, something that really is, it's beautiful and it's comfortable, and you're not sacrificing comfort, but where you're also able to explore and really get close with the people that are around you. So that's what we're looking to do, is we're looking to kind of bring together elements of, I view travel as a catalyst for growth and change and evolution and everything beautiful. So what we're looking to do is really bring the power that travel holds, as well as its allure, to bring people together into a transformative experience where they're able to go home with a new perspective.
Oh, wow. And now, why is it called Beyond the Nest?
Yeah, because I think that we all have a nest. All of us have a nest, and you can call it your comfort zone or what have you. But we all have either a home base, we have, for many of us, a parent's house that we've been at for the past year and no nest of our own. Mm-hmm. We have a ton of digital nomads that have been grounded the past year and maybe starting to build a nest. But a nest really refers to just your comfort zone and your home base, wherever that might be. But your nest can also be the people that are in it. So we break it into like 4 pillars of what your nest of what makes up your nest or your home situation. And it's self, family, community, and career.
Family, community, career. Did I get those right? Self, family, community, career. Okay.
We believe that those are the elements of what builds up your, the essence of your home life, or the nest that you create, the community, the people, the things you put in it, the dog that you buy to fill it, everything. So what we're doing with people is we're taking a week out. We're going to a 5-star estate in Mexico for 2 weeks with 2 different sessions. One is Flying the Coop. The other is work from home to work from anywhere, where we really work with people with remote jobs that are maybe looking to get more out of that lifestyle or evolve that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So we have those 2 1-week sessions. We really have a beautiful estate with, it's 9-bedroom, 13-bathroom, 2-acre with a helipad, horse stables, a removable roof with a battery that opens, a pool, cabanas. It's absolutely out of this world stunning.
I have to say, I've seen some pictures of it. It does look amazing. It does look incredible. Yeah.
And we put a lot of effort into choosing homes that are like low impact. So this is solar heated. The roof opens not just for beauty, it opens for airflow so that you don't have to use as much electricity. It's a low electricity home in a place, San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, where really you want to have a low environmental impact. Yeah. So we do look to have minimal impact, and we also work directly with the homeowners. So instead of it being that I've gone through some company to book this house, I know the homeowner. We chat almost every day about, he told me that he's putting in an outdoor fire pit for us. It's a fun relationship, but it's also direct reinvestment into the community. So that's really what's important to me. I've spent my entire career in travel. I've worked in a few different aspects of it. I've worked in some where we do direct investment in the area, and it feels so much more enriching.
Well, now I have to interrupt you there, because I think you're kind of downplaying when you say I've spent my career in travel. You actually, I was reading about you. You've guided overland adventures. You've driven in a bus across America, and also you were the #1 tour provider for Travel and Leisure magazine.
2019.
Yeah, correct. So I think you're when you say you spent your time in travel, I think you're kind of downplaying your expertise there.
And it's been such an adventure. I mean, I'm 28 years old. I got into travel at 21. I mean, I studied abroad multiple times. I do believe that travel changed and saved my life. I left the country for the very first time when I was 16. I studied abroad in Austria. I knew nothing about the country. I didn't know much about study abroad. I just knew that I had a home life that I had to leave. And after that, like, bringing that to fruition, funding that, financing it, getting there, leaving that home life and realizing that I was an adult person that could do things was so absolutely mind exploding, right? The world exploded in front of me. I'm not my parents. I'm not my family. I'm not even my town. I'm anyone I want to be, and the world is big. Yeah. And I think that I used travel throughout college and stuff to just help me bring passion to it. I mean, I spent my freshman year in Switzerland at a university in Switzerland. I spent my junior year in the UK, but I went to UC Berkeley. I just didn't spend a ton of time on campus. Okay. But yeah, so thereafter, I had cancer during college, and after recovering from cancer, I decided that I wanted to get into the travel industry at any capacity, just at any level, to do anything. And my guess was I would do it for a few years, right? Like, you know, I thought that I'm tied to a desk and I'm tied to a corporate life, because we all ultimately are, is the way I viewed this only a few years ago. And so I thought, okay, then I'm going to go dip my toes in travel, and I'm going to go have some fun, because my body's young and I don't know how long I have, and I want to move and I want to see things. So then I thought, let me just get in there, right? And I'll come back to my office job later. And I started working for G Adventures, and that's when I guided overland adventures. And our trips were long. I spent 3 weeks going from San Francisco via the southern states up to New York. Wow. And then 3 weeks doing the northern route all the way back. And I did that a couple times. And it taught me a whole new work ethic. And it also just continued to expand my mind about what's possible, what kind of lives we can lead, how we can generate income outside of an office. And just got me thinking a little bit bigger.
See, and I like what you've said here. How can I generate income outside of an office? Because one thing I've discovered in talking to young entrepreneurs is that they look at starting a business so differently than someone my age or my parents' age. It really is looking at the entrepreneurial journey differently. And when you and I were communicating a little bit before meeting virtually, you talked about always wanting to be an entrepreneur, and you talked about kind of the secret sauce. Can you explain that a little bit more? Tell me a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey and this idea of a secret sauce.
Yeah, so I feel like I want to say that I always had the inclination that I want to own a business. That I would love to own a business, or I didn't know how exactly that worked as a young or as a late teen, early 20s. I didn't understand the process. I didn't have a business background. I'm not great with finances. I just felt like there were so many things against me, but I knew that ultimately that would be real fulfillment if I could own my own business. I thought, wow, I would just love to create something, to actually build, not just help other people's ideas and then get a 10% commission, but to actually create something. But I did think, you must know something I don't know, right? Because why else does everyone go to Harvard Business School and all these great business schools? And if I want to own a business, then I ought to devote myself to the GMAT. And so I sat down there and I started studying the GMAT for a while. But the unhappiness of studying all those elements of business ownership made me just say, screw it for now. And so I thought that, yes, there's a secret sauce I'm missing. I thought maybe it's like really good networking. Maybe it's who you know. I thought, maybe there's just information about how it all works that's shared in business school or that's shared somewhere online.
The secret handshake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or just still like having imposter syndrome before you've even started anything. Just, I could never do that. That's for people that are much older and more, I don't know what I thought or what I thought I was missing, or I don't know if it took until a pandemic and I had no job and my career, my entire industry, travel, was decimated. So I was pushed into it. I wanted it always, but I was also pushed into it by my options becoming severely limited unless I did start to build something from the ashes quite quickly.
So you started your business kind of during COVID? Is that when you started putting your business together?
That's correct, yeah. So my co-founder is 62, I'm 28, so we are a total cross-generational duo.
You are a cross-generational duo, so I just want to say that again. So your co-founder is a baby boomer, and you did share your age. So you're right there, you're kind of at the cusp of Gen Z millennial, correct? Yeah, all right. What's that like, working with someone a little bit older?
It's different.
Yes.
It's different. It is, what's different about it is that we are equals.
Okay.
And she's my mom's age and her kids are my age. So there is this inadvertent, inescapable relationship that we will tend to fall into unless I actively work against that. And so what I've learned in this partnership is that when you're a partner with someone, it doesn't matter what your age is or anything, or it doesn't matter what your skill set is. You're involved in a partnership, okay? Whether they came up or you came up, whoever you think is winning, they're your partner at that point. And at that point, you're equals in this vision. And so for me, who still thought, even when I was starting my business, that my co-founder just holds the cup of secret sauce and I get to whatever, help her out. Slowly but surely I realized I'm pretty capable, and being a partner in a cross-generational duo is definitely different, and it requires relationship management, as any relationship would. And I think just for anyone that's not involved in a partnership, to explain what it's like, is it's like you are instantly in a very serious romantic relationship with someone where finances are already shared, and there's no pulling it apart without you hurting.
And the difficulty is, to me, if you're in a partnership, unless that partner is your romantic partner, you at least don't have the sexual component to make the uncomfortable part enjoyable. But
exactly.
It's I'm a partner with you, so we kind of share kind of all the difficult things that a traditional marriage would share, but we don't even have the romantic part to make it kind of spicy.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, it's intense and the stakes are high. It's required a lot of my own personal investment, especially we're in a pandemic year. That it can't be overstated that this journey that I'm on may be different. I'm sure it's different than what journeys were like before that. And I think that that's also the catalyst that gave me the goal to really say, it's now or never, Vanessa. And I think that's travel industry specific because, as I said, no one's hiring. All my past employers are going under every day as I look. It's very scary. And all I know in that moment is that one thing is travel is definitely not going away forever. It is not. And right now is when, as I said, everything is going to ashes. And ashes and water make mud, and you can build from that.
Oh, interesting.
And so that's been my thinking, is that these people are still out there. And the thing about us and our company is we're not refitted, we're not retrofitted, we're not like revamped for a COVID world. There's nothing that's like redesigned on our trips. We've built this all in mind with the awareness that even once we come to the end of this entire ordeal, this pandemic, if there's an end date, whatever, but there may be other unforeseen things that come up. I think that we're realizing that the globalized world that we live in can impact us very severely, very quickly, right? So we're built for those kinds of situations. We're built knowing that things change quickly and that you need and deserve someone who can monitor those changes and keep you safe and make sure that the journey is still fantastic, even if one of the prior locations is, not working out. So I think that's really part of the allure, is that this is all designed for this type of world and these type of travelers.
Now, did you start planning your business before the pandemic?
We did.
Okay.
We pivoted significantly from our initial ideation. So our initial ideation, and this is, I think it's a really fun story. So I was leading a group of digital nomads around the world for a year.
And I'm sorry, did you say digital nomads? Now, I saw that term on your site several times. And so can you explain what exactly is a digital nomad?
Totally. I bet a bunch of your young entrepreneurs are going to know exactly what a nomad is, and they might even have different definitions than me, because the cool thing is that you can define it yourself.
Okay.
So in the digital nomad space, there is a hierarchy of, who travels with the least amount, who moves the quickest, who never settles, whatever.
I travel. I didn't even know that there was this kind of hierarchy. I've already lost on who travels with the least amount.
Yes. So digital nomadism, sincerely at its core, is anyone who wants to live a semi-nomadic lifestyle, meaning just not opting into leases or buying or staying at a single location for a hyper extended, amount of time, and that brings their job with them. So we call it digital because at this point there's not really any job. Every job is digital anyway. So you have a remote job that you like to travel and work. So you want to set up for a couple weeks or a month in Lisbon. You have maybe a co-working space, or you work from home depending on your style. And then you enjoy the city and you try to experience it like a local as much as you can outside of work time. So that's what a digital nomad is.
Okay.
I was leading a group of digital nomads around the world for a year. You guys might know companies like The Remote Year, and other, so I was with someone similar.
Okay.
And Mary was on one of my retreats, and the theme of this retreat was how to help that company make more money or get more clientele. Okay. I was astounded that a company had created a retreat where people pay to come and help work on their company. That's a dream for me.
So were you an employee of the retreat? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. And it was a retreat for people who to come to learn how to run their businesses more effectively, make more money?
Somewhat. It was a retreat for us to come and help the company, the digital nomad company, evolve their brand.
Okay.
Mary brought her job. And anyway, so we broke out into discussion groups or different sections and with different ideas. And Mary and my idea was that there's too much ageism in this location independent space.
Oh, interesting.
So I had the opportunity to meet like 20, 25 people over the age of 50 that were traveling with us. And I spoke with them and I learned about their experience. And I also was obviously very connected with the younger contingent that made up the majority of our population around my age or a little bit older. And we determined that the companies that are out there, the one that I was working for, our competitors, no one had anything that was designed for someone who's working their way into a location independent lifestyle at a later stage.
Okay.
The space was dominated by millennials and some Gen Z.
Okay.
And Mary and I really wanted to bring this into light and make it a little bit of an easier calibration into this lifestyle, or an easier explanation of the lifestyle. I don't need a digital nomad to travel for a year. But someone like my mom, who's working from home and sad and lonely, she could totally take a month and come with us to Argentina. I was looking to help people like her. And Mary is someone that also wanted to help people in that age range, people that needed the quote unquote training wheels to start a location independent life, which you do need. There's no shame in it. So that was our initial nexus, was to create to fill that gap in the market, to help end that ageism and bring older people also into the location independent lifestyle.
Okay, so I'm 51. Would I be your typical customer, or is there no typical customer for you guys?
You sound about typical. I mean,
okay.
So since then, we have pivoted significantly. While we still offer flying the coop and trips that are geared toward people going through a transition, maybe out of work into retirement, and a lot of our population is in that age range. We also have young people just about my age that are remote business owners, who are looking to determine whether or not they need to open their office space again, or whether they can stay remote. I have business owners who are looking for information on how to develop remote culture, accountable remote culture with 1099 employees that are dispersed and international. So yeah, I've had the opportunity to learn a lot from the nomads I've traveled with. I've equipped myself with a ton of knowledge just throughout being in the industry and working with nomads and having a remote and location independent lifestyle myself. And so now we're looking to really work with anybody of any age that this resonates with.
I love what you call it, remote independent location. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, location independent.
Location independent, okay.
Than single nomad, because location independent just serves to say that I could, if I wanted to, move tomorrow to Spain.
Okay. I like that, location independent. And so I want to kind of ask some little nitty gritties about your business, just so that when another young entrepreneur is listening to this, watching this, as you said, I think sometimes those nitty gritty details can seem very daunting. How did you and Mary, your business partner, how did you decide financially how to make this happen? And I think a lot of young entrepreneurs find that daunting.
And that is daunting. And I would be lying to all of you guys if I said that finances aren't something that I freak out about often. And like, if you want to do this, you can absolutely do this. There's no reason. The thing I keep saying to myself, and anytime Mary and I are scared, like really scared that we can't pull this off, I say to myself, there's nothing different between me and the people that are already doing it. There's not. Okay. I'm not dumber. I'm not lacking anything essential. I finally realized there's not much secret sauce. All you have to do is put yourself out there so overtly, so uncomfortably, so vulnerably, and you have to dive in. So I was terrified financially. I mean, I was very lucky in that I had a good nest egg to myself. My initial thinking with Mary, who does have the financial backing that I hope to have when I'm 62 as well, but don't in my 20s, her having that was definitely the reason why I felt like this was doable. Okay. I didn't have any experience with a successful idea coming to fruition. I didn't have any past business experience, so I had no like quote reason to think that I was going to be successful without someone who had been successful in business before. And we're still in our infancy, so it's still really a little bit difficult for me to say how it all works out. But our initial thinking was, Mary can take 51% and I'll be 49% owner because she has the money and I don't, and she's older than me and I'm not. And just that typical thinking that we have when we're young and we meet someone who's older than us. And when it came down to the wire, I decided I wanted to be a 50-50 partner. I mean, if this woman with all of her intelligence and all of her experience in business, acumen, if she's willing to put her money on the line, then I ought to follow suit, because whatever investment she's making is probably a smart one, and I don't want to get gobbled up. And by gobbled up, I just mean other people doing things that they understand in business at a pace that I don't comprehend. So I knew that I could be 50-50 partner if I put in an equal amount. And so I just decided to do it. I just
Okay.
decided to match her there.
So you put in, both of you put in the same amount of money.
We're at roughly the same amount. So
Okay.
our partnership is 50-50 dependent on capital contribution, which is a really great concept for anyone that's like considering a partnership, because that means that, so the way that we have it worked out, I'll just give you real simple because I do kind of like this and I think you guys should think about this one. So we're 50-50, right? But it's dependent on capital contributions. So if I need another $20,000, like, you know, insert of money, I forget what it's called, you know, just if I need a bunch of money, and I am out now, I'm tapped. So I would lose some of my ownership, right? She might become 60% owner or whatever. But I can work back to that because in our partnership, the aim is always to be at 50%. So I can either work back to that or I can take less salary.
Okay.
But any spending decision over $1,000 has to be made with the consent of both partners. So I understand what's being spent that I'm not spending, so I'm able to track kind of where my ownership is. But as a partner, it's always my right to ask where we're at in our partnership and our finances, especially since my partner is the CFO, so she is in charge of finances.
Okay, I think that's a really good point that you made about being involved in the financial decisions, especially since you said earlier finances, that wasn't your strong suit. But I see that what I hear you saying is, you know, it's not my strong suit, but I'm determined to understand the finances of my business.
Yes, and I think that's something even that like this week really is coming into some more clarity for me, is because you feel so busy when you're doing this. You feel so torn in a million directions. I mean, a million directions. And then on top of that, you know, your partner now is able to take care of finances. So it just feels like, great, let's let her do it. But then, you know, my operations officer said, no, you're the CEO, you know, you need to understand and you need to be on top. You know, the buck stops with you, and she's right. And so now I'm taking it upon myself to get better information about our financial standings and our sales and our purchases. Because ultimately, I can pretend that money is not being spent, or I cannot think about it, but I spent half of whatever she spent. So
I think you made a really good point. I like to ask, is there something that you, as an entrepreneur, you tried and that maybe in the business that didn't work out quite as you thought, or maybe failed miserably, and would you be willing to share that?
Yeah, absolutely, because I think it's a great tip. I think it's something that a lot of us would lean to when we're thinking especially of like bootstrapping it and like ways to bootstrap this and ways to hustle. Here's my tip.
All right.
When you want to bring someone on to work for you, so in my you guys know I run trips, so if I'm looking for a yoga director for week 1 and 2, whatever, the route that I went was to go for work for trade, because that's a really, you know, I've done that a lot for other people and it's worked out awesome.
And just so that when people listen, when you say work for trade, that is the yoga instructor would come to the trip, they would perform the lessons or lead the classes, and that yoga instructor's pay would be the trip itself. Okay.
And there's a couple different ways that you guys can work for trade. There's a number of different agreements. The legality of them is shady. Work for trade is not necessarily legal, but like I operate all over the world, so in Mexico I'm sure it's fine. But anyway, so what our arrangement was is that she had a 20% affiliate link, so she could give 20% off. She could cash out for 10% or keep 20% in credit, which is a smart idea. You should always allow a cash out for your people you give incentives to, like a travel agent, for instance.
Okay, and this is you're talking about your yoga instructor, the work for trade.
Yep. So she do a cash out, or she could keep the money, and then she was to offer all the yoga classes that I put on the schedule, and then that was that. So no finance, like I pay for her trip, and she performs on trip, and she can also earn money by selling spots on the trip.
Oh wow! Okay.
Oh, it sounds like a great method, and I bet it is. I bet there's other people listening that are like, "That's me. I could do that." You need to really. Either you need to really spend some time vetting who you're having work for trade, but you also need to really set up expectations, like very, very clearly. I mean, I thought that giving the affiliate link and giving her that 20% discount to recoup as finance for herself, I thought that that would be enough for her to sell the trip, right? Or to be encouraged, or to sell a spot. But I overestimated her following and her influence. And so she wasn't able to generate a sale. It became a big cost for us because now she hasn't brought anyone in. Now we're just paying for a yoga teacher. It would have been cheaper to get someone locally, and also it's better for the economy locally to hire. But at this point it hasn't worked out. And then she hasn't made any money selling any trips. So now she has to take 2 weeks off of work or whatever to do this trip, but she really didn't reap any benefit from it. And so then she wants out. But it's a very, it was a very mutual decision.
Okay, got it. All right. So what I kind of hear you saying is that the formula that you just presented sounds like it would work, but the person that you paired up with, this particular yoga instructor, it wasn't a good match.
But we had 2 of these situations, and they both ended up similarly. So I honestly would wager to say be careful with it, because we had another one happen, and in this other situation. The person that we wanted to bring on as a guest coordinator for one trip would, in private conversations with me, be begging me to start a branch off business with her and leave my initial project. I mean, it just got like crazy. And I was like, whoa, what is going on? And that's another thing about your startup, is that people do have ulterior motives sometimes.
Interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Ulterior motives?
Yes. So this woman did not have bad ulterior motives. She did have ulterior motives. This is not the yoga teacher. This is someone who I thought, let's do work for trade, where she will offer a few workshops because she had some expertise that I liked. And I saw that she had a very high Instagram following, which you really need to dig into the engagement to see if it's real. Anyway, before having done that, we started working together. And at our first meeting, she would just tell me that I was so strong, I had so much to offer, that what she does is so complimentary, that I could come right into her business and really just ramp it up, and I could be her partner, and I had all these other options available to me, right? Because she sees the strength in me. She sees also the newness in me, and that's okay. But people will want to take your idea, or take your expertise, or take the work that you've already done and capitalize on that. And so what you need to do is, if you're working with anyone who's not getting paid by you, who you are their employer, or their, even if it's a 1099 situation, if you're not paying that person, then the expectations need to be so crystal clear that there's no confusion. You know what I mean? So if you opt to do that, then, however many units of your product, however many additional followers you want them to bring in, however frequent you want their posting to be, or their marketing to be, you need to stay on top of that. And if you don't have the bandwidth, then don't do it, because managing a work for trade or a really cheap labor situation that you get requires more managerial time. You're going to spend in dollars or in time. So if you're working with someone who's off the books and just $1 here or $2, or I'll give you some of this, you're going to spend in money or in time. And so
those are the 2 big ones, especially when you're starting a business. Those are really the 2 big players, money and time.
You have money and you have time. And you'll realize sometimes where it's good to pay for something, right? I have someone who does my social media, where even though I need to go in and correct all of the social media every day, it's such a time saver. Yeah. So I pay for that. How important is social media in your business? I like to ask young entrepreneurs that question. Yeah. We're still trying to discover that. We're working really hard to figure out what it is that gets people to travel immediately after COVID with a luxury provider. So it's not an Etsy shop. I'm not putting together small products. These are very high ticket items. I'm brand new into the business. I'm taking people out to other continents. I mean, the amount of authority that I need to have is out of this world. I'm taking people and doing things with them. Like I have insurance up the yazoo, which I don't know much about, to be honest. That's something we've had someone else search. But like, we have insurance, and like I'm at risk for a lot of things. So our social media does have to look a little bit different. Now, one thing that's helpful is that everybody in my industry is pretty much tracking the same thing. We're tracking the reopenings of countries. We're tracking the country requirements, CDC requirements, testing requirements, flights, airports, all that kind of stuff, international safety, vaccinations abroad, etc. Now, what's really important in social media for me is to demonstrate the fact that I am well aware of all this and that I'm in contact with people that are high up in these areas. When we go to Malta, for instance, I'm in touch with the head of Maltese tourism that knows our dates and knows exactly where we'll be, so that we're entirely safe. It's all about the connections that we're making. But sorry, to go back to social media, something that I've recently learned is that it seems like social media, yes, it's important. It's important for all of us. I mean, it's content. But our competitors are not getting high engagement in their social media, or don't seem to really be working it too much, right? Maybe they'll have some Instagram posts that just go automatically to Facebook. Maybe they'll do a little bit of effort here or there, a couple of Facebook Lives. But I'm not seeing like any strategy that for me is like, they are the ones that got it. I think that we're doing well. I like our account on social. Like I think that we have a solid following. I think that our engagement numbers are pretty good and pretty high. But bringing those into like messages that lead to actual sales is not really happening.
And I would say that what you're describing, it's not industry specific. And that I hear that from many of my clients. When it comes to social media, how to measure the engagement, what to put on social media. But I do follow you. I do follow Beyond the Nest on Instagram. I do.
Thank you. So one of our techniques for social media, just like, to be upfront, and for any of those that are like struggling, is that like content trumps everything. Of course, it's quality that matters. But I would go so far as to say that if you really got there, it's like quantity over quality slightly. Like you need to really be putting things out there. It's something that I'm guilty of. It's something that probably all of us are guilty of because we're so damn busy. And we're then on top of everything to post and find articles to link, and also create blogs, and also get on podcasts. And there's just so much going on.
It can be a full-time job. I mean, it really just the social media aspect itself. It seems like it can be a full-time job.
I cannot fathom having to do it myself.
No.
I think that it would paralyze me in some other areas. I wouldn't have the time to handle other things. Social media is something also that you can hire out for really easily with like companies like Upwork or Fiverr, or any of these other 1099 websites where they help you find employers.
That's some great tips. Last question, what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur? They're listening to your voices of wisdom, your words of wisdom. What advice would you give a young entrepreneur?
For a young entrepreneur, I would say we're in it together, one, because I'm right there with you. I'm right there. Like, this journey is not easy. It's not short. There's also no end in sight. Those things can be so intimidating. Also, for any entrepreneur that's trying to go through this, like post-COVID, props to you, amazing props to you. This might be the scariest thing that you do, and you're doing it at one of the scariest times. And I think that no matter what happens with your project and your company, no matter, right? I know that we all say, like, I'm in it till the end, right, to the last cent. But no matter what happens, the amount of bravery and the amount of self-love and self-worth that you've demonstrated in trying to take this on during this time is something that you should be proud of, and you should remember forever, because that's still part of you, and you can still build off of that at any time. If this moment wasn't the right moment, there's nothing wrong with you. You are every bit of strength and every bit of power and every good day you've had. You're still that. It might have been timing, it might have been people, don't give up. You don't have to give up. I also want to say that like people would tell me beforehand that like, oh yeah, starting a business is the hardest thing I've ever done. But like, it really feels like that. It really feels like that. It's very lonely.
That's a good point you made about being lonely. It can be very lonely.
And I want to talk about that for a second because
Sure.
it's not lonely in the fact that I'm sitting in my own office. I'm working by myself. It's lonely in the sense that like, if all of your friends are, employed, mm-hmm. it puts you in a different category. Mm-hmm. And it also, not that like haters gonna hate and not that like you're some amazing whatever, but don't outwardly expect everyone that you love to love your idea or to be into it. One hard thing that Mary and I have learned is that sometimes the people that you think are going to have your back may not. Oh. And it might be something so human as the fact that, like, I don't want to use the word jealousy, but just like, think yourself, young entrepreneur, think yourself, like, how would you feel if you gave up this year and 2 years later someone your age had the same idea and they got farther? You'd be a little salty about it. You'd be a little upset. You're gonna find that in your entrepreneurial journey is that like some people are really proud of you and really stoked about it, but like your friends also might just kind of be like, well, let's see how you do with that, Yeah.
There's like a little bit of a joy in if you fail. There's a term for it, and I'm drawing a blank on it. It's like if you fail, there's a little bit that other person has a little bit of like they do a little happy dance that you failed at your idea.
And the German term is called Schadenfreude.
That's it exactly. Thank you. That is it.
And them wanting to see you fail may not be personal. It may just be that they are curious about starting a business and want to know what it looks like if someone fails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It may not be anything personal, but you need, like, you are in this alone. It is your money you put in. Don't drag your friends into it as partners every day you get scared. Don't do that.
And what do you do when you're feeling lonely and scared? What do you do personally to alleviate that?
I go to yoga. I go to a lot of hot yoga because that heat is really very intense, and it does kind of give you like a really clean, open mind again. But sometimes that's not enough to do it. Mm-hmm. I need to often change locations several times.
Okay.
I also will move with the weather. So like if it's super sunny out, I do struggle to stay inside and like stay focused at 2:00 in the afternoon. So then maybe I'll just take that time and go to the beach. Okay. And I'll just work later. Because I do better when it's like foggy out, and I'm still learning myself. I'm getting to know myself in a whole new way. I'm looking at co-working spaces, but co-working spaces might help. Also, just reach out for help. Mm-hmm. Like, just tell people you're lonely. I mean, I've said it to a couple girls like recently that I was kind of like getting to know through volleyball or whatever. I said, I work at home and I'm quite lonely and you guys seem really nice. That vulnerability feels so good to other people that it really helps them have like the compassionate heart. And anyway, those two girls were like, we also own our own businesses and work from home. Just work with us. And now those two women are coming on my trip. So
hey, that's great. That's great. I think you made a good point about being vulnerable. And I know that when starting my own business, being vulnerable is not easy to do. And I think that's a good point. All right, final point, Vanessa. This is what I call the shameless plug. Tell everybody how to reach you, how to reach your business. What would be the beauty of going on one of your trips? Tell me about it.
Our trips are going to be out of this world. So, I mean, I have a dense history of tour operation. I know how to make some great tours, as you mentioned. Top tour operator in the world by Travel and Leisure in 2019. I'm looking to take all of those skills, and what we're putting together are these really transformative experiences. So our first one is in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And what it is a 1 to 2 week retreat. You can opt for 1 or 2 weeks. And we have, as I mentioned, a beautiful estate. We have daily activities from mezcal tasting to artisan workshops to hot springs to stargazing to horseback riding to in-room massages, sound healing, yoga, just everything fantastic that you need to really decompress and unplug and have an amazing time, but we do it with a small group. And that's because I absolutely believe in the power of small group travel. If you travel with 7 other people who know that they're also like looking to recalibrate after a difficult COVID year, or they're also work from home and interested in, working remotely anywhere, being location independent. Or in Greece, we have another theme where it's manifestation. It's just manifesting a reality that you love. Mm-hmm. You know that the people that come on that trip are also really into that theme. So if it's transforming your life, you already have so much in common with the people that get there that so many other factors are instantly unimportant. Things like, so I used to lead those group trips. Things like age really go out the window. So when you're leading a trip on the road and they're camping across America, the age kind of matters. It really does. You want them to be similar in age. But when I bring people together for reasons that are bigger than just the location, it's bigger than just the estate, it's bigger than just the activities. It's more so looking for an escape, looking to recalibrate in a safe environment with cool people. That's what we offer.
That is awesome.
So we handle, we have someone that'll sit down and help you book your flights. As soon as you land, we have a card that's ready and waiting for you. You either show us your vaccine card, or we can test you in the car privately on your way to the estate so that everyone is bubbled together nicely. You have no obligation to share your vaccine or to share your vaccine status. That's your deal, but you do know that everyone around you is COVID tested. Mm-hmm. Every artisan that you work with, let's say the person that we have that we're doing an artisan workshop with. Now, vaccines aren't as readily available in Mexico. So there is an argument that it's unsafe for us to cause them to work, right? Mm-hmm. Even though we're vaccinated. What we do is we COVID test all of our people before and after their interaction with us, so that we know, 1, they're safe coming into our group, and 2, they're safe as they return home to their families at the end of the day. So that's something that we do for the local community that also doesn't have access to testing, is that we bring tests in bulk with us.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. And so would we find this on the website Empty Nest, Instagram, Facebook? What's the best place?
So beyondthenest.org is our website, and you'll find info about our Mexico trip. We're going to Greece in September. Definitely join that 14-bedroom villa over the ocean. It's out of this world. We have trips coming up to Vietnam. We're headed on a voyage this January, either to Malta or to Costa Rica. We are floating a couple of ideas. Would love some input. But yes, get in touch with us, beyondthenest.org. I'm Vanessa at beyondthenest.org if you just want to email me directly. Vanessa, Vanessa. And then you can also grab our Instagram, which is at beyond_the_nest. So definitely check us out there. You can sign up for our newsletter. They're quite infrequent and have good info, so I would highly recommend it. And then also, yes, email me, hello@beyondthenest or Vanessa@beyondthenest. It's right there. I'm on the homepage, and we can Zoom, we can chat. I'm down for it. I would love to talk to people re-emerging after this insane period who are ready to hit the skies and like dreaming bigger.
I'm listening to you talk. I mean, I'm ready to travel, but anybody who is not, they're going to listen to you talk, and how can they not want to travel? I also receive your newsletter. It's a great newsletter. I encourage everyone to sign up for it because it does have a lot of information just about what's going on post-COVID in the travel world.
Exactly. That's also what we're going to continue putting out on our Facebook Lives. Is we do a lot of research internally to aggregate information that comes out from the CDC, the World Health Organization, from different travel outlets, as well as the country-specific information. We aggregate that information and put it out to travelers just in terms of what it means for you. That's awesome. If you're looking for like a quick, condensed version of all the travel news of a week or two, we're going to put those out with regularity, and I would really recommend just listen to it in the background, and it's just going to have all the info you need.
That's awesome. So I have to be honest, Vanessa, this interview was more fun than I even thought it would be. Thank you so much. So I've been talking to Vanessa Famighetti. Did I say the last name right?
Beautifully.
Oh, good. This has been terrific. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I can't wait to see you in another country very soon. Thank you.
I can feel it. All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.